Welcome back to the second episode of the So Sisters podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest, someone that I've looked up to for 3 years now, Miss Courtenay DeHoff.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. So my name is Courtney DeHoff, creator of Fancy Lady Cowgirl. My story is I'm the fifth generation born on my family's ranch in Kansas. So grew up in agriculture, grew up a cowgirl, rodeoing, showing cattle, all of those things. I went to Oklahoma State to be on the rodeo team there. So agriculture was very much just a part of who I was. I landed a television internship during my time at Oklahoma State my freshman year, fell in love with TV and was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life is be in television. And so largely pursued that after graduation. I landed my first big TV job right out of college and quickly learned that the cowgirl persona, the cowboy hat, the cowboy boots, didn't really translate into mainstream television and entertainment. In fact, I had agents and managers in the business that were like, you can't dress like that. People are going to look at you in a cowgirl hat and they're going to think you're uneducated. They're going to think you're from somewhere like Kansas. And, obviously I was. And so what I really heard was you can be the cowgirl that you were born to be, or you can be a TV host, but you can't be both.
Mhm.
And so for a decade, I hid the cowboy hat. I put the cowboy boots away in the closet and I did everything I was told to do in the world of television and entertainment and had a successful career, but was just very unfulfilled. And so really in 2020, I started finally leaning back into my cowgirl roots, slowly sharing on social media that I wanted to be both. I wanted to be both a fancy lady who lives in the largest cities in America, as I still do, but I also wanted to be a cowgirl. And to me, being a cowgirl is so much more than a job title. It's so much more than an occupation. To me, being cowgirl is a state of mind. Because even in my TV career, where I was hiding the cowboy hat and all of my cowgirl roots, the values were still very much there. And so that's really what Fancy Lady Cowgirl represents. It represents women from all walks of life who embody the cowgirl spirit in all kinds of unique ways, right? They may live in the middle of Manhattan in New York City, but they still have those cowgirl values or the cowgirl code, as I like to call it. So COWGIRL, right? Courage, originality, worthiness, grit, resiliency, integrity, all of these things lead to legendary. And I
Mhm.
think cowgirls are legendary. So that's really a very brief synopsis of my story and how Fancy Lady Cowgirl came to be. It really happened very organically. And today it's become this big, huge global community with events and merch and all
Yes.
kinds of amazing things.
I've been following along ever since I saw you at National Convention. I fell in love with you. I fell in love with what you're doing because I have a similar upbringing. So how I started was my family has farmed for years, just like yours. And I also did pageants when I was little. But I was always told not to talk about agriculture and pageants because no one would understand. I was always told to kind of keep that personality and keep that side of my life totally separate from the pageant side of my life. And so when I started thinking of doing the Miss America organization, which you have to have a platform, you have to have also a talent. And I was so nervous because I knew that I wanted it to be agriculture because that's, my whole life. But
Mhm.
I was so scared because I knew, especially for doing Orlando, Florida, you think of Mickey, you think of Universal City, you don't think of the country life. I was terrified because I didn't know if they were going to appreciate my platform, like my platform, understand my platform. But when I saw you freshman year go out in your cowboy boots and your blazer dress, I think it was, I was just like, wow, I actually can do both. I can pull agriculture into my platform and I can do that in pageantry. And that's what I did. And that's what scored me my crown and title. Thank God they liked agriculture. But I kind of had the same thing. I was so nervous to be who I am because I had everyone telling me that those two things don't mesh.
Right, right. Well, congratulations and good on you for just owning your truth. And I think that's one of the things that's been really eye-opening to me through Fancy Lady Cowgirl, and I'm sure also for you through your experience. I think sometimes those of us in agriculture, we sort of write it off that people don't care, that they're not interested. And actually, I have found the opposite to be true.
Mhm.
Um, people are really fascinated by agriculture. And now more than ever, people want to know where their food comes from. And they want to know who the farmers and ranchers are that are feeding, America and essentially the world. And so it's been really cool just to see how interested and intrigued people are. I think it really boils down to mainstream America just really for a long time didn't have these voices, right? Before social media, before things, they didn't have any form or way of forming a connection with us. And I think they do now. So it's really special.
It is really special, and, like, I can agree with you because I remember in my interview, I walked in, and it's like they were so interested in my platform, they just asked me about my platform. That's all
Mhm.
they asked, "How do you what is it like showing livestock?" Because I show steers at my local fairs and festivals, and they were just like, "What's it like doing that? What's it like growing up farming?" Actually, one of my passions is I wanna create a GMO one day. That's, like, one of my biggest dreams, and I
Same.
wanna go to UF and major in biotechnology, and so they were so interested in that they totally just forgot to ask me, any political kinda throw me off. They were just so interested in it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
It was a lot. It's just crazy. It's crazy that I would feel so appreciated, and you were the one to kind of push me in that direction with all of your social media aspects, with all of your just motivational speaking. I've showed you to everyone. No one knows that you're on my podcast yet,
I
but
love it.
no, I've showed you to everyone. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, this girl is so cool." And you truly have, like, been the person to inspire me to do So Sisters and to pursue agriculture and pageantry, so applaud to you for
Well,
that.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you have any experiences other than, of course, the television show or the TV shows where you had to kind of put away your boots for a second? Like, what are, I guess you could say, what are some like the hate you've gotten from doing your platform? Because I know I can relate to a lot on that.
Yeah, I think now I just very much own it. So I almost have done a 360 and I feel naked without the cowboy hat. Like to me, putting on the cowboy hat and embodying the cowgirl is powerful. It's empowering to me. I walk through the airports in my cowboy hat now, where I used to be the person who like carried it in the hat can and hoped nobody looked at it. So I think now, even if somebody told me not to wear it, I wouldn't listen because it is so much a part of who I am. As far as hate on, the platform, yeah, social media, absolutely. There are tons of people that hate me. And it's interesting because I'm a big believer that agriculture needs to really be a little more welcoming to outsiders, because at the end of the day, if we ever want to grow, if we ever want the narrative around agriculture to shift, like we have to welcome people in who were not born, bred, and raised in agriculture, right? And so I do a lot of sharing, especially recently, like, mainstream singers and things putting on cowboy hats. And I think it's cool because I think it brings awareness to cowgirls and cowboys and the values and things. And so I share a lot about that, and there are a lot of people who are like, that's not cowgirl, they wouldn't know a hard day's work in their life. They don't even know these people, right? And it's so I get that a lot. And I think I know my truth, right? And my truth is that I think I was put here to really sort of be the person that says, you know what, you may have had the gate slammed in your face multiple times within the agriculture industry, but here, let me open it up for you. Come on in, let's have a conversation. I don't agree necessarily with everything that some of the people I'm sharing, wearing Western clothes and singing country music and doing all that. I don't necessarily agree with their politics, or I don't even necessarily like their music, but I think there is really something to be said for people within mainstream cultures really embodying the cowgirl and cowboy spirit. And it is totally having a moment right now, and call it the Yellowstone effect or whatever you want to call it. I think, cowgirl has always been cool, but I think it's getting even cooler. And I think at the end of the day, it's beneficial, right, to the Western and agriculture community. Beyonce
Yep.
puts a cowboy hat on her head, like her or love her,
Yeah.
Beyonce is going to sell cowboy hats, right? Western retailers
Mhm.
are going to see people coming into their stores who have never stepped foot into their stores before because they saw this singer put a cowboy hat on her head, right? Now, not saying I agree with everything Beyonce does, right? But I think that it does bring a lot of awareness to the culture. And, I
Yes.
get a lot of pushback. Oh, she's not cowgirl. Like, she doesn't know the values. She's never worked in her life. Well, first of all, that's a joke because she's one
Yeah.
of the biggest icon, pop stars in the world.
Exactly.
But we're just so quick to write people off. And I got a lot of pushback on her specifically. And I did some research just because I was like, I feel like this is not the first time that she's done this. And there's actually an interview with her mom
Mhm.
from years ago. And she says, growing up in Houston, our
Yeah.
favorite thing to do every year was go to the Houston rodeo. And Beyonce loved to go to the Houston rodeo. She loved to watch the animals. She loved to watch the rodeo. She loved the music. And
Yep.
so, like, it's not as crazy, right, as people just see her on a magazine cover and think, oh, she just put a cowboy hat on her head because it's trendy. We're so quick to write people off, right, who don't necessarily live the lifestyle. And so I just think that it's really cool and it's having a moment, and I'll continue to share those things. And yeah, I get comments every single morning. I wake up and open my phone and there's 15 comments about people that are like, you're an idiot. You don't know what cowgirls
Yep.
are, blah, blah. And, at the end of the day, I think that a lot of those people do have courage, and they are original to themselves, and they do have grit. It may be different than the kind of grit a rancher is showing, but it's still grit, right? And that to me is what cowgirl is.
Yeah, call me whatever you want. I know deep down, I know my roots, and I'm just going to continue to support people and lift each other up just like you do. And I like how you said, these everyday people are, going and buying a cowboy hat for the first time. I always mention that if you eat today, you're involved in agriculture.
Yep.
You're,
Amen.
and like, if these people are eating, they're involved in the agriculture industry. Let them wear a cowboy hat. We do not own that. We do not own the cowboy hat. We do not
Yep.
own the cowboy boots. Every time I see a girl at, a Taylor Swift concert wearing cowboy boots,
Yeah.
working it because
Mhm.
we do not own that. Yes, that may be our shoes that we wear to, work in the field, work with our livestock animals, but it's the same shoes we wear to get dressed up and go to parties. That's
Yeah.
how I truly do think about it.
Yeah,
So you hit
exactly.
it like right on the nail. And the Beyoncé thing, I love it, I
Yeah.
think it's great because she's just shining a light on, cowgirls, which is attached to the industry that needs light shown on it,
Mhm.
agriculture. She is opening up that gateway for everyone to come in and start asking questions about the industry, which I think is so amazing and it is needed, more than ever. I fully support it. I hope we see more country songs from her because she's just continuing to grow, the cowgirl traditions, the cowgirl
Mhm.
culture. And I'm totally here for it because, like you said, I used to be so embarrassed to wear
Yeah.
my boots and wear my hat out in public. But now it's like I walk out wearing it proudly. And I know other girls do that too. So it's just crazy how we're changing from never talking about agriculture, never talking about the cowgirl traditions to now embracing it every single day. And I hope well, I know Vogue came out to say that 2024 is the year of the cowgirl. So I'm like,
Mhm.
let's keep that going at Miss Florida.
Yeah,
Let it be the year of
exactly.
the cowgirl. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I've experienced like the exact same thing, and it's just for us to embrace, to be quite honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you touch a lot on agricultural education too, in a way?
Yeah, I think so. I think the through line of everything that I do, Fancy Lady Cowgirl, the TV work, the speaking, is really agriculture advocacy, right? I mean, even Fancy Lady Cowgirl, you know, in a way that is an advocacy platform, right? Like, I am advocating for the lifestyle, for the Western and agriculture lifestyle. So yeah, I think ag is influenced in every single thing that I do. And at the end of the day, really being a storyteller and having this Fancy Lady Cowgirl platform and doing keynote speaking and even TV work, that's really my way of carrying on my family's ranching legacy, because I did not go back right to the ranch. My cousin and my uncle and my grandparents are running, the family's ranch. My mom and dad have a small cow calf herd. I didn't go back. So it's like, how can I still be involved in agriculture living in one of the biggest cities in America? And that is how I do it, is through the Fancy Lady Cowgirl platform. But yeah, everything ties back to agriculture. And, it's just been one of the coolest experiences, because I tell people all the time, and I'm sure I said this at National FFA, and I'm speaking next week
Mhm,
to the Georgia FFA, to their state convention, and I'll say it again there. Agriculture people are just different, right?
mhm,
They live by a set of values that many Americans have lost.
mhm,
And so I just love being surrounded by the people in agriculture. And so really my mission is to introduce people from around the world to the people of agriculture. Because I always say, if other people in America, for example, acted a little more like farmers and ranchers, and when we shake hands, we look people in the eye, and a handshake means something, our word means something, we hold doors, we help the elderly, we proudly support our military, these things that are so common in agriculture. I think if that could seep in to mainstream America a little more, I think this country would be a lot better off. And so that's really, there's so many different aspects to it, but at the end of the day, yeah, everything is about supporting and promoting the people of agriculture.
and that's what I'm saying, like, I feel like with your platform, you are bringing that, you're bringing that in a non-judgmental way, I think, because you advocate so big for the values, the industry, the clothing aspect, but also you advocate for all those things, and how you're doing it is in a non-judgmental way, welcoming everyone, and I think that's what's so enticing to American people, because they see this figure who I feel like a lot of people think people from the industry are judgmental, but seeing such a big figure with being a part of that industry, but also being so welcoming, it entices me too, because it's so hard to find people like that. And it's so hard to find people that are willing to say, hey, come to the industry, you're welcome here too. So
Yeah.
that's why I appreciate everything you're doing so much. And, using this platform is how, I advocate not only for being a woman in agriculture, but also agriculture education. I know I mentioned a little bit earlier kind of how I want to do GMOs, genetically modified organisms, stuff like that, but it's so looked down upon. There's so much misinformation being spread about that. So that's exactly what I do through this is, people see me and they're like, "Oh, pretty girl, pageant girl, pretty girl in
Mhm.
cowboy boots." And I'm like, "Listen here, we're getting to the bottom of it. Let's talk about agriculture." Like
Mhm.
right off the bat, because it's so, so, so important. Because I know if I don't educate these people on the industry as a whole and on, what I want to pursue GMOs, then I won't have a job in the future because no one will want them. So
Right.
that's why it's so important. I tie that a lot into my platform too. So sisters, empowering women and cultivating change one seed at a time. So
Love it.
it's kind of both. It's, empowering women, but it's also advocating for the industry that needs it the most. So
Mhm.
I just love that we're kind of the same. I mean, you're obviously bigger scale, much wiser, much, better than I am at this point. But I love that I have someone like you to look for and, kind of base my platform upon too, because all of your values is just something that I reminisce with very, very well. So I wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Now, I heard this at National Convention, and it kind of struck my ear a little bit that you have a bull that you put in rodeo, and is his name Top Dollar? Is that his name?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that.
Top dollar. Yeah, so I am part owner of a PBR bucking bull, professional bull riders bull named Top Dollar. So last year was his rookie season in the PBR. He finished seventh in the world, so we were
Like,
very, very proud of him. But yeah, Top Dollar, talking about advocates, like he is such a huge advocate for bull riding. You talk about misinformation and misunderstanding, and they buck because they're hurt and they're abused and all of these things, which is completely untrue. Um, And Top Dollar is such a beautiful example of that because he really wants to do nothing with his life except buck, eat snacks, get scratches, take naps. He loves people. I just posted a video yesterday. He had a full spa day. He was getting a
Oh my
bath and
gosh.
digging holes and just having a great time. But yeah, Top Dollar's been such a fun experience for me and my family. My mom and dad are also part owners, and then Katie and Laramie are our partners. Katie and Laramie are what they call his handlers. So they haul him, take him to the events. And yeah, it's just been really, really incredible. And we've got to go all over the world, all over the country with him. He made his Madison Square Garden debut
Oh my
last year, which
gosh.
is very cool. And yeah, it's been super fun, something that I never could have imagined. It really stemmed from a television job that I had in 2020 working with the PBR. I was doing some sideline reporting for them and loved it. It was like a dream job, and it lasted 3 whole months because then the pandemic shut it down. They never called me again, so I never worked with them again. But through that, Katie and Laramie had watched me on TV. It's
Mhm.
how they discovered who I was and what I did. And when they first reached out, I ignored them because it was a message on Instagram. And I was like, I'm not going to own a bull. This is insane. Like, that is a male dominated world. I don't know anything about being a stock contractor. But then I finally did meet up with them, and I liked them. I didn't know anything about he had 4 legs. I mean, I
Yeah.
had no idea he would buck. And Laramie's like, no, I'm pretty sure he's pretty good. Like, I promise. And the thing that sold me, I said, why me? Like, why did you, what is and Laramie looked at me and he said, we really want to show people that women and people from all walks of life can be involved in the bull industry. And I was like, done, sold. So I was like, I'll document it. We'll document the journey, see what happens. That year that I became an owner as a yearling, he went on to become the yearling world champion, ABBI world champion. And then just, we hoped would make it to the PBR someday. And not only has he done that, but he's become a definite fan favorite. So
Yes.
yeah,
He's my fan favorite. Like I love him. I
he's
keep up
so
with
cute.
him.
Yeah, yeah, he is a busy fella. Yeah, so he's got his Instagram account at Top Dollar Bucking Bull and all of the things. But yeah, we're just very, very we show everything. How you flank,
Mhm.
what it looks like in the chute, what Laramie's doing up there on the back of the chute, what it looks like when a rider's getting on. We show the rider spurs, they're dull, they're not sharp. Like, we show everything. We try to answer every question that comes our way and just really shed light on the fact that Top Dollar bucks because he loves it.
Mhm.
Um, and we always joke, we're like, Top Dollar weighs 1,400 pounds. Like, if we can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do, including bucking.
Exactly.
That's very much his idea. So
Oh, I just love it. I think it's so just different, like
yeah.
you don't see like you don't see like women owning a bucking bull, nor do you see like a famous bucking bull. So
Yeah.
when I heard about your top dollar story, I was mind blown. And for having a world champion, just because you wanted to
Yeah,
you kind of fell into it, and then
I
getting a world
did.
champion out of it is
Yeah.
so crazy to me.
It's been super cool. You probably can't see it on this gallery wall somewhere up there. Is a picture of Top Dollar that a photographer took for Vogue.
Oh my
And so like I've always like been like, someday I'm gonna be in Vogue. And I'm like, wow, of course, Top Dollar made the cut long before I ever have been considered.
Your
But
bull made Vogue before you did.
yeah, that's pretty typical. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. So
I love that. And like I kind of have the same experiences too, like with, he's not a bull, he's a steer, but with my
mhm.
steer and showing him, I've had a lot of fun experiences with showing different steers, but then you also, you have the people who don't understand, why do they get tied up? Why are they in the
Mhm.
squeeze shoe? A bunch of stuff like that. And so I'm gonna like I love that you advocate for that too, because that's something else too, I always remember being at the festival and having like animal rights people come up to me and just kind of like, pound me with a lot of misinformation. And it's like every day I'm at the festival, I have to keep telling people like, no, this is actually what we're doing. It's not what you think. But like I always tell people my steer gets treated better than me. He eats before me, he gets a bath before me, he gets exercise more than me. So I always make sure to tell people that. But I gotta start kinda doing what you're doing with the advocacy.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about that, I never would have thought of advocating towards the animal agriculture side of things. Thank you guys for watching another episode of So Sisters with our very special guest, Miss Courtney DeHoff. And we had a great time today sharing kind of our backgrounds in agriculture and talking about some issues, some highlights that we have being women in agriculture. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and also follow me at so.sisters. Do you want to have your at for them to follow it too?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Court DeHoff, and you can follow Top Dollar at Top Dollar Bucking Bull on Instagram. He's very famous.
Oh, I love it. I'm following right away. I'm pretty sure I already follow him though, but y'all should go and follow him too, because that journey is so amazing and it still shocks me to this day. All right, well, bye everyone. Have a great day, and we'll catch you for another episode of So Sisters. Bye.